What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today we're going to check out the Mesa Boogie Single Rectifier Series 2. Let's do it! Alright, hope you guys are doing great out there. Today, as I said, we're checking out the Mesa Boogie Single Rectifier Series 2. If this is your first time here at my channel, what I do is I take awesome high gain amps, cabinets, overdrives, guitars, pickups, record them with a simple SM57 setup, and give you guys the unprocessed audio. So if you're into E standard thrash riffs, drop C hardcore riffs, and dudes who dress like Sporty Spice, you're in the right place. Consider hitting the like button on the way out and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss any more videos. Thanks! Alright guys, so as I have mentioned in many of my previous videos, you know that I have a love-hate relationship with the rectifier. The single rectifier is actually one that I typically really tend to not enjoy. It reminds me the most of the 3-channel rectifiers that I don't like all that much, the ones that are fizzy and kind of boomy on the low end, at least from my recollection. That's what I always recall. I kind of recently have come around to rectifiers. I think that this one sounds really good. Spoiler alert, that opening clip that you guys heard, I'm really happy with that tone. My main issue with single rectifiers though is I feel like the power sections are just underbuilt for 50 watts. You guys know me, I am a huge advocate of 50 watt amps being more than enough in pretty much any band setting unless your drummer hits like a nuclear bomb. I have not only tried to practice with one of these amps, but I've also tried to record one, or rather my guitarist Jason did, for one of our EPs, and we couldn't help but notice that the amp, once you put some volume on it, just starts to fart, starts to kind of fall apart, much like an EL84 amp does. When you really start pushing the volume, it compresses, it loses all of its definition, the low end has no punch whatsoever just because it's so compressed. It's like the transformers are so overworked and oversaturated that they can't put out any juice. So yeah, that has been my experience with not just one single rectifier. I've owned a few of them, Jason's owned a few of them, and we've always kind of come to that conclusion. So take that for what you will. I believe the regular single rectifier has been out of production for some time. They've kind of went to the Rectiverb, which is a 25 or 50 watt amp. Haven't played one of those. I'll try to get one on the channel. This one's actually going out the door today, so I won't be able to do a comparison to like a 3-channel dual rectifier, but I'm sure I'll come across another one in my travels at some point, as well as the Rectiverb, so we'll save that for the future. But anyways, yeah, I'm happy with how this amp sounds. I think it's sounding great so far. Let's go back over to the orange channel. I'm actually on the red channel, boosting with the Duality DX and kind of shaping the EQ with the Slammerai as I have been doing. The Slammerai is a clean boost with the drive all the way down. It actually sends out a clean signal, and then it's got a 3-band EQ, so I can really kind of shape my tone going into the amp using these two pedals. But we're gonna turn those off. We're not gonna hit that combination again for this video. I'll try to play through the amp as much as possible before I turn the boosts on. So let's do that. All right, so that clip was in vintage mode. I'm not really gonna mess with raw mode because raw mode is kind of more like a classic rock. It's a little bit more subdued in the gain, and it's just not something that I think most high gain dudes who are playing thrash and hardcore, it's not a mode that they're gonna wanna use. So let's just go straight to the vintage setting. Okay guys, everything is at noon, including the presents. We're fairly loud in the room, but I'm not pushing the amp too hard because it's 8 in the morning and I'm not trying to get the cops called on me. The guitar I'm using is a 2005 ESP Eclipse with a Fishman modern ceramic in the bridge. So let's hear how it sounds. In typical rectifier fashion, the presence doesn't do much of anything until you get to the very end of the sweep of the pot. All right, so let's get that gain up closer to 11 o'clock because that's pretty light on the saturation. All right, still fairly light on the saturation. Let's kick it up to 1 o'clock. This amp, Mesa rectifiers are generally kind of dry and kind of stiff to play. This one in particular seems to have a little less gain on tap than say my 2-channel rectifier or my multi-watt, so we got to push the gain a little higher to get to that saturated. Alright, so not bad there. It kind of is losing its definition, as rectifiers tend to do when you push the gain real high. Let's get a little bit more treble going. See if we can brighten it up a bit on the top end. That sounds pretty good like that. Not bad. All right, so let's push that gain just a little bit more. And there we are. We are in high gain territory for sure. The mids have kind of started to get boxy on us and everything too, so that's where the boost will really come in handy. All right, so it even seems fairly tight without a boost. This one is a little tighter than I recall, like a 3-channel dual rectifier being off the top of my head. And I'm also digging in really hard with my hand. So if I play a little looser with my hand, that's how much your attack with your right hand makes a difference on this amp. It's very responsive to how you play. Night and day difference. You can make it sound really tight just by altering how hard you pick and where you place your hand in the palm mute. All right, so not bad at all. Let's dial the bass up. Dial the mids back. There is the rectifier tone that you pretty much come to associate with these amps. Scooped mids, big lows, kind of a fuzzy top end. Let's even enhance that even more. Let's really push that bass. Let's push the treble. So that is a huge kind of modern fat sound. That's the rectifier sound in spades for sure. One trick that I love to do with these amps, I love to turn the treble to 0, turn the mids up just above noon, and then you can actually use the presence to dial your highs in, and this gives you a much more mid-forward type tone. Now, it's not as tight like this because the mids have been broadened out quite a bit, but when you kick in a boost, it really just brings this amp to life, in my opinion. So as you can tell, it works better when you are in slightly lower tuning. As we are now, we've got a lot of mids going on, so let's bump those mids back. So that gives you a very mid-forward tone. Now this pickup is pretty mid-forward, so it doesn't necessarily work as well here, but it sounds pretty good overall. Let's bump that treble back up and pull the presence back down. The difference in the mid content when you do that is pretty astounding. So let's dial those mids up, let's dial the lows up, pull that gain back just a tad. Super tight, super punchy. Let's get a little bit more treble going and a little bit more mids. Now we got some bite on it. Okay, so let's go over to the modern, and I have touched nothing on the dials whatsoever. This is modern, still with a boost engaged. Way louder. Ugh. So that, to me, sounds awful the way we have it set up right now. Let's pull the presence back. Okay, so now we're much scoopier, we're much more saturated, and we've got kind of like an upper mid spike. It's like upper mid or low in the high frequency range that to my ears is not pleasant, but a lot of people seem to like the modern channel, so. Overall, it seems to be bigger in the lows, but a little bit mushier, not as tight. The mids are scooped out pretty significantly, and the high-end treble is kind of harsh. Doesn't sound that great to my ears. Let's do the treble at 0 thing again. All right, so we've already got a lot more mids. That sounds awesome to me personally. All right, so we got a really good tone going there. One riff, I'll do a drop D riff. We'll call it a day on this video. Okay guys, that sounds great. I'm preferring the vintage setting because this, with the treble at 0, seems to be a little nasally in the upper mids and kind of lacks a tad bit definition compared to the vintage mode, but let's grab a drop D guitar, or I'm sorry, D standard, quick riff, call it a day. Okay guys, I'm gonna turn on the Electric Eye Mud Killer boost for this clip because this boost sounds incredible on the Rectifier in my opinion. Here it is with no boost. Here it is with the Electric Eye Mud Killer. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for me today. What did you think about the Mesa Boogie Single Rectifier Series 2? Is this an amp you'd like to have in your arsenal? Do you think that this amp compares well to the other rectifiers in the series? I think it sounds great personally. The vintage mode on this amp with the right settings, the right guitar, man, it can thrash with the best of them for my taste, and also it can get down and dirty for the drop C riffs as well. Gives you that big fat low end, retains just enough mids to sit in the mix right. I'm a fan. It took me a long time to come around to the rectifiers, but I'm genuinely a fan. I think this one sounds great. So yeah, what did you guys hear on your end that I didn't hear here in the room? Please let me know down in the comments. I'm always curious to hear your guys' thoughts. If you liked the video, hit the like button on the way out, consider subscribing. Down in the description of this video are all my support links, including my Sweetwater affiliate link. Go get yourself something nice and help me out at the same time. My Patreon, Facebook group, and Discord servers are all down there as well, so consider joining any of those, hanging out, talking gear. Love to have you guys around. Kyle here again. Hope this video was helpful. We'll see you next time.